My name is Diana Loderhose. I'm the International Features Editor here at Deadline, and I'm delighted to be here with our next guest from the film May December. The film follows Hollywood actress Elizabeth, played by Natalie Portman, who arrives in Savannah, Georgia to research her next role, where she's set to play Gracie, a woman who's made the tabloids as a 36-year-old for having an affair with 13-year-old Joe. 20 years on, Gracie and Joe are leading what seems to be a picture-perfect suburban life, but their domestic bliss is disrupted when Elizabeth shows up in their tight-knit community. As Elizabeth ingratiates herself into the everyday lives of Gracie and Joe, the uncomfortable facts of their scandal unfurl, causing long dormant emotions to surface. The film ultimately explores one of the great talents of the human species, our colossal refusal to look at ourselves. Please, will you welcome to the stage Todd Haynes, director. Christine Vachon, producer. Producer Sophie Mass. Yeah, and then writer Sammy Birch. So you go there. You go there. I'm supposed to go here. Second to left.
And I'm going to sit next to you.
Yeah. Well, before we get started, guys, we're going to take a quick look at the film.
My love. I think about you all the time.
So, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
So, this film is it's incredible, and I'm so Sammy. You wrote this, and it's your feature debut. So It's a pretty heavy topic to kind of be digging into. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what inspired you for this to be the subject matter for your first feature film.
Yeah, I wanted to look at tabloid culture and our current climate of true crime biopics, and I was really initially drawn in by this character of Joe that Charles Melton plays so beautifully, of a man who, it's almost a coming of age story, who's in his 30s but about to be an empty nester and hasn't really processed his past.
And so tell me a little bit about how you kind of researched it, because I thought this was, after watching the film, sort of based on one particular story, but there's been obviously numerous stories of teachers having affairs and things like that with younger people. How did you research it, and how did you kind of put the pieces together to build this story?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't research too much. I kind of was inspired by big picture tabloid history that I've just absorbed in our culture. And I wanted to fictionalize a couple such as that.
Todd, what was it for you that kind of drew you to this script and made you want to tackle this?
The script came to me from Natalie Portman. It had circulated with a lot of interest around the indie film world in the U.S. This was right at the height of COVID, so everything was shut down, and there was a lot of speculation going on about what people would be doing next. And first, the opportunity, of course, working with Natalie on something was so exciting. But this script was just made such an impression on me, and I was reading a lot of stuff. But Sammy balanced all of these disquieting themes with such a sense of, with such confidence, and I loved how disquieting it was for the reader, and thought, wow, if there was a way to convey this on screen and to ignite that sense of sort of engaged questioning and uncertainty. That would be, it reminded me of the kind of movies that I came of age watching. It made you question your assumptions going in, made you want to discuss them and think about them later. And then, of course, it had this second amazing female character that was suited for Julianne Moore. And this is my 5th film with Julianne Moore.
So, did you always have her in mind, though? Then for this?
It did not take long to come to that decision. I began talking to Natalie about the script and her character Elizabeth, and we started to talk to Sammy. And then I thought, I was thinking I would maybe suss out Julie quietly first before making putting anybody on the spot, and then Julie was like, "Wow, this is incredible." And so she was on board.
Christine, Sophie, I know you work with Natalie. So maybe could you guys give us a little insight into kind of at what point you came aboard the project? And I know Natalie, Sophie.
Sure. Natalie and I started our company right also, at the height of the pandemic, beginning of the pandemic, and we were incredibly lucky to receive Sammy's script, which was sent by Jess Albom and Gloria Sanchez. And we could tell right away that it was, something very special, complex female characters, the kind of thing you rarely see in terms of the writing, the pace, one scene after the other being unexpected, and that makes you feel like you don't really know where you're going, but you're, going along in this journey. And it didn't just like, Julian felt like something pretty obvious for Todd. I think for us it was like, I think we need someone like Todd, and he would be the one really perfect for it, to understand how to, film this woman and tell this story. And that's why, Natalie sent it to Todd and Killer, and then we were, lucky that they joined the project with all of us.
Yeah, we always take a look at everything before we send it on to Todd, and obviously he gets a lot of submissions, and we could tell that this was one that would really attract his attention. And the project came together pretty quickly. With actors like these, you get a window of availability that is, this big, and we just managed to plant our flag in that tiny window as quickly as possible.
So you guys mentioned the pacing. The pacing of this film is so interesting because when you watch it, you do feel, there's tension constantly. And it kind of, Natalie Portman's character, Elizabeth, she's researching a role for, this woman she's going to play. I guess, but it reads kind of a lot like a detective or like a kind of a crime. Yeah. She's kind of asking questions to people in her community about her. And it very much has that kind of detective crime pacing. Was that intentional? Did that come through in the script? Or was that a pacing you kind of took when you were directing? Like, how did that, maybe you can tell us a little bit about.
I mean, it was built in the script absolutely as a sort of investigative process, particularly the first half of the movie, where Elizabeth is interviewing people who were part of Gracie's life. Now, I think it's implicit, but the amazing choice that Sammy made was that the story takes place 20-some years after the tabloid event occurred. And so there are these walls that have been erected around Gracie and Joe and the family that they raised. And that creates this incredible dramatic tension for the role of Elizabeth to be chipping away and trying to navigate through these barricades. I think some of that tension you describe might also be furthered by the fact that I chose to let the film play in extended single shots that hold, with also a very interesting and unique use of the score. But you're watching these performances unfold in front of you, and many scenes are in mirrors, and the actor looks directly into the lens of the camera as their reflection of themselves. and the other actor looks just off the same actor looks just off the lens at the reflection of the other woman. And so you're engaged in this sort of like, this triad of views and looks as you're watching one woman starting to learn how to embody the other.
It is interesting because when you're watching it, it almost feels quite meta because you're watching her audition for a role or research a role, but then she must during the process of preparing this with her, she was also researching for this role as well. So how do you guys, like, in terms of when you were dealing with this with the cast, there's scenes where it's like you're filming a movie, but you are a movie. There's that. If that makes sense, how did you guys kind of walk through that at the beginning and kind of keep it separate, if you will?
I mean, it's in the script, and there's a sense of coherence in the fact that it's about a film being made, and ultimately the film ends where you get a glimpse into that very film. But there's doubling and tripling of characters going on through the course of the story, and we can't leave the stage without making a special mention of the amazing performance by Charles Melton, who plays the young husband, whose work I didn't know, who was on Riverdale, the show in the United States, very popular show. This is the first dramatic role he's ever played in a film. And the way Charles understood, I don't know what he did when he auditioned for the role of Joe. It just took us all by. It was astonishing, and it was deeper and more granular and more repressed, than anything I had imagined while reading the script. And it helped fill that in for me in this remarkable way.
I'm glad you mentioned that because his performance is incredible, and you can see it in his, even though this is a film about these two women, Sammy, as you said at the beginning, it's a coming of age story about him, and it's about how this event completely changed the course of his life, and that's what I think is really, really interesting about it. Maybe could you guys speak a little bit more about, how integral his role was to this, and kind of, even though it's about these two women, it's very much his story.
Yeah, I mean, I think we start off thinking that Natalie Portman's character Elizabeth is our way in and a reliable source of information, and then it becomes sort of a duo, and then by the end is sort of revealed to be a triple portrait, and Charles's moments have a different feeling to them, obviously, and are so heartbreaking. And I think that was really important for everybody about kind of protecting that character and the sensitivity of that, even with all these other elements kind of braided on top.
And I think also, we had an incredible script, but to Todd's credit, it was also navigating from the Bergman and Sorkin references and going along, changing, evolving, which really makes, also like the color of the film as it evolves and as the characters evolve.
There's a very sweet moment where he's with his son on the roof, which is probably one of my favorite bits of it. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's sort of like his son kind of taking the father role, and you realize how childlike this person is, and he's young and he's got this family. It's very heartbreaking. I want to just ask also about the music, because you mentioned that earlier. And the music feels like it's almost like its own character, because it's so different from anything I've seen you make before, Todd, or anything. That's obviously was a big, I would imagine, big discussion point of it, and it's very impactful. Can you guys maybe all tell me a little bit about why you kind of went with such dramatic music?
The music is derived from this remarkable score of Michel Legrand's from a film from 1971 called The Go-Between, with Julie Christie and Alan Bates. I know this film I hadn't seen I think I saw it when I was a kid, but it's sort of fallen out of circulation in the United States. And I saw it on Turner Classic Movies last year when I was preparing May December. And the music of the film is not like anything in a Legrand film, in a Michel Legrand score, or in a Joseph Losey film that I'd seen before. It asserts itself like a slap in the face at the very beginning of the film, and it puts you on alert as an audience, and makes you think, wait a minute, what is going to happen? Where is the story leading? And so you pay acute attention to the entire frame as you watch it. And I thought, that is the example. That's what this film, that's what I felt when I read the script, and that's what I want to try to find for the film. So I used the music in ways I've never used an existing score before. While shooting May December, we played this score in every scene that music would play. So the crew, the actors, my creative partners were all living the same
You played it while you were shooting.
while we were shooting.
Wow.
Yeah. From the very first shot that we shot on the very first day of the shoot, this Michel Legrand score crashes in from the loudspeaker, and everybody was like, "What the fuck?" And I watched that excitement happen among the creative process, and then we cut to the score. No, I told Marcelo Zarvas, my incredible composer, from the beginning, like, this is the idea, Marcelo. And he was like, wow.
And it's amazing, so
Yeah,
effective.
yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks you guys so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
so
Thank you
much
so
for being here today.